What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another episode of Player Ratings. The Spurs got battered 6-1 at St James's Park to the hands of Newcastle on Sunday. Let's get straight into it. Let's start off with Hugo Lloris. Ones all round for Hugo. Only lasted 45 minutes. Did go off with an injury at halftime, so they say. I thought one of the goals he should have done better from. I think it was the fifth one, I believe, where it went under his body. Potentially could have done a bit better with the fourth one as well, but look, you can't concede 5 goals in 20 minutes, let's be honest.
Well, he conceded 5 of his 6 shots on target, so he literally pretty much was at 90% record, 80% record of goals conceded from shots on target. And also the one shot he did save was parried straight to Jacob Murphy. So essentially, he did pretty much concede with every shot, and it was pretty atrocious. No leadership as well. Got taken off at half-time for an injury. What's the one? That's the one if I've ever seen one for a keeper. Yeah. I mean, there wasn't any major howlers, but I think 5th goal he could have done better with. 1st goal he could have done better with for sure.
And potentially even the 4th as well, but I'll let him off on that one. Let's move on to Pedro Porro, right back. Ones all round for Pedro. I mean, defensively, absolute shambles yesterday. 1st goal just gets caught ball watching. The one at the back post, he was completely too slow to react for Callum Wilson's goal. And it was just a terrible performance all round. And you can just see, I mean, that's just not his position, right back. I mean, he just can't play there, to be honest.
I think it's more to do with the structure of the team. He was asked to go forward and support the attack, yet there was no semblance of us being in possession, getting him in the forward positions. Clearly, defensively, he's got a lot of work to do. We've said this previously. Defensively, he struggles, especially at this level. He's going to need to be coached how to defend better, which can happen. But I think a lot of it was laziness. A lot of it was lack of aggression in the challenge, not paying attention. Having your arm up when you're keeping the player on side. Those things really anger me when I see that. But the thing is, what Porro's good at is getting forward and making the difference there, but we weren't able to do it because we just weren't able to keep the ball for any sort of period at all.
He tried a bit in the second half. But...
Yeah, so and that was too little too late. Defensively, he was shocking. Joel Linton had a field day, let's be honest. So really poor all round from Porro.
Yeah, let's move on to Cuti Romero. Ones all round for Romero. Tragic display from him, to be honest. Again, for the 1st goal, similar to Pedro Porro, just lets Joe Linton just waltz into the box and harm us. For the 2nd goal, he lets the ball just go right over the top of his head. And I just thought he was an embarrassment yesterday, to be honest. Out of position a number of times. Every time the camera panned to him, he just looked like completely lost, biting his nails, no aggression shown. It was a really uncharacteristic performance from Cuti Romero, and it kind of just compounds a really poor season from him, to be honest.
It's one of those performances, Romero, like when he's on his game, he's like first at every challenge, he's super aggressive, he's anticipating things, but when he's off it, he's really off it. And this game, he was so far off it. It was
last game of Spurs.
I can't remember one challenge he made. He was second to every ball. He seemed to be lacking concentration for a lot of the goals as well. That 1st goal, I've never seen Romero do that, where he doesn't even put in the challenge. Usually he'll commit a foul or something. He just let Joe Linton walk into the box and get the shot off. He gets his customary booking in the second half for a late tackle as well. But Romero, when he's a bit off his game, I mean, he was a lot off his game this one, but even when he's a bit off his game, sometimes the levels can really go down. But he was so far off it this game, and he just seemed there was no leadership, not from him, but like for him as well. He's obviously he's won a World Cup, but like you expect the senior players to like help him through it. There was nothing. He seemed to be completely lost, and it was just horrific.
Eric Dyer, ones all round for Eric Dyer. Absolutely disgraceful display from him in a back 4 where he's not comfortable, and it showed yesterday why he's not comfortable in that position. I mean, that ball round the back from Willock, in every other of the goals, he was just left in no man's land as well. I mean, disgraceful.
I mean, defensively, all over the shop. That 4th goal, he was so exposed. He couldn't get even anywhere close to Isak. It was so painful to watch. It was like watching a guy like wearing wellies trying to play football stuck in the mud or something. But what really annoyed me was him on the ball, how bad he was when he in possession. That's supposed to be one of his biggest strengths, is passing out the back. And I think it was two long passes completed out of 13. He just continuously, aimlessly punted the ball forward to absolutely no one. I was watching the game. I was like, Dyer's got the ball. He's going to punt it forward to no one again, and he just kept doing it. He kept proving me right every time. I said it with very good accuracy. He was so bad, it really pissed me off. His lack of vision, awareness, and his defending didn't make up for it. So atrocious display.
Yeah. Moving on to Ivan Perisic at left back, also not his position, but ones all round for Perisic. And I mean, he was just slow to react to everything yesterday. The first goal, slow to react to Murphy. A number of goals, he was just absolute in no man's land once again, like all the other defenders. It was just a complete mess from that defense all day long. And Perisic, it more like he was playing at wing back than full back. He was just nowhere to be seen for any of the goals that we conceded.
He was pretty much selling. As much as Dyer was awful, he was completely sold out by Perisic on a number of occasions. Where Perisic, look, difference to when I said Porro, I reckon Porro long term could adapt to a right back slot with good coaching. Perisic is never. It doesn't matter how much coaching you have, he's never going to be a left back.
We're seeing he's 34 years old.
Yeah, he's never going to be a left back. He's a winger who's been converted to a left wing back. He is never going to be someone you can put a left back and be confident that he can put in a good display in that position, especially defensively. He's so focused on getting forward and helping the team in that way that he continuously leaves the back door open. He can't put a challenge in. That the first goal, he doesn't follow up to Murphy. He doesn't have those defensive instincts. Fourth goal completely sells Dyer short. Doesn't think about getting around and helping cover. He's just thinking about Spurs going back the other end. Didn't really have. I think he had one shot in the second half which blazed over the bar. Other than that, completely ineffective anyway going forward. Trippier had a pretty easy day. Jacob Murphy will never have an easier day, I don't think. He made Murphy look like Ronaldo pretty much on the right wing. So terrible day from Perisic.
And this is Jacob Murphy. Like before this season, he was probably considered as more of a championship.
Murphy, I don't even think he's a League One winger. Honestly, I'm not even joking. Like I think he's good. He works hard. I think Howe can coach a good performance out of, and but he's not like a winger who's good, like you. Even if you put him in a lower Premier League team, he's going to guarantee you like assists or anything. He's just a very fast winger who will run himself into the ground for the right manager, and that's what Howe's doing. I think quality wise, I think he's championship at best.
Moving on to the midfield, let's talk about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Ones all round for Højbjerg. I think it's becoming a bit of a theme here. But look, with Højbjerg, what do you associate Højbjerg with? You associate him with hardworking, gritty, challenging, never stop running, pure kind of emotion. Didn't see any of that from him yesterday. He didn't put in a challenge, didn't even make a foul on the pitch yesterday, and he was absolutely nowhere to be seen. Lazy, no mentality whatsoever, and I was really let down from Pierre yesterday.
I thought he was a bit of a coward yesterday, to be honest. Højbjerg, he's got two young midfielders next to him in Sarr and Skip.
Showing that leadership.
Exactly, he should be leading the way. He should be showing them how it's done. And yes, the other midfielders didn't do great, but where was the leadership from him? Where was the communication? Where was the fight? He should be leading by example. Yet he was nowhere to be seen. Completely for all the goals. I don't think he's in shot for any of them. He's just nowhere. He's just not doing his duties correctly on the ball. Complete lack of composure, no forward passing, but whatever that can be.
One forward pass for the assist. That was it.
Yeah, he did get an assist, but off the ball, I think, especially in the first half, he was completely nowhere to be seen. And I thought it was cowardice a bit from Højbjerg when he's supposed to be leading those other two midfielders.
Completely agree. Couldn't agree more, to be honest. Moving on to his midfield partner at Ollie, Skip. Sim gives him a 1. I gave him a 2. And the reason I didn't give him a 1 is just because I thought he showed a bit more in midfield in terms of aggression, trying something. You know, he was putting himself about a little bit, much more than Højbjerg did anyway. So, I mean, there wasn't any quality in there at all from Skip, to be honest, but I just gave him a bump up just because he showed like he wanted it a tiny bit.
Yeah, he was bad for sure, no doubt about it, but he was running around kicking a few Newcastle players. He did get booked. He was getting a few fouls. At least he was trying to stop them, unlike the other two who just seemed to be allowing Newcastle to waltz through as easy as does it. So I can't exactly give him points for making fouls, but at least he did make fouls. But it did show a bit more energy, but the quality was so severely lacking from Skip, and it wasn't great in the end. So I also gave him a 1.
Next up, Pape Matar. Sib gives him 1. I gave him a 1. He got hooked after 23 minutes when the game was 5-0. I don't think he had his hand in any of the goals apart from the one with Jacob Murphy, where he could have closed him down a bit quicker with that shot from about 25-30 yards. But I thought he was a bit unlucky to go off, but I kind of understand it because Skip and Højbjerg are the more senior players there.
I mean, I don't think he was unlucky because I also thought he was atrocious, but I feel for him because he was thrown in the deep end and he was made a scapegoat a bit by the manager to take him off. But I also thought he was atrocious, to be fair. I think he was making no challenges, essentially. He was giving the ball away in really sloppy situations. He couldn't handle the pressure being put under him by the Newcastle players. And I felt for a few of the goals, he could have done a lot more running to get himself back in the position, and he didn't. He didn't try and help out the team. And that was really, really disappointing considering, good performances we've seen from him previously. I just thought he was atrocious.
Kulusevski up next, ones all round for Kulu. And he just didn't do anything at all to impact the game yesterday. And he's on really bad form at the moment. And yesterday couldn't do anything at all to influence the game. Yeah,
completely ineffective. He made some fouls on Dan Burn. I think he got himself booked as well. To be honest, he got booked and then he continued to make fouls. He was lucky that, the referee didn't pull him up on any of them, but was very ineffective. Wasn't able to affect the game going forward really at all. Defensively, wasn't really helping out Porro either, selling him short a bit, apart from making those fouls. So another really poor day.
Harry Kane up next. Sim gives him a 2. I gave him a 4. I mean, he was anonymous for most of the game, to be honest, because it was all played in our box. But I did feel like he was trying to take on the mantelpiece for the team, coming deep, trying to put in challenges. Obviously, he got that goal in the opening stages of the second half, which was a really nice goal, actually, and a really nice finish into the bottom corner. But look, it wasn't a great display, but I thought he was our best player on the day.
Yeah, I thought he was okay, to be honest. He was so anonymous. He barely touched the ball, so he didn't really get involved. He did get a nice goal, but I think by and large he didn't do anything when he did come deep to find the ball. Wasn't able to really pick Son out or Kulusevski out on any regularity. So I just thought, I mean, he wasn't involved enough for me to give more of the 2 apart from the goal, so gave him a 2.
Moving on to Heung-min Son, 1s all round for Sonny. I mean, it was a really difficult day for him just because he was hardly seeing the ball whatsoever. When he did see the ball, he was trying to go on a few runs, but getting snuffed out every time. The service into him was pretty much dreadful, so there was nothing in there from Sonny.
Yeah, and there was one run in the second half. He went outpaced Shah, cut inside, and nearly got a shot on target, but was blocked by Botman. Other than that, again, he was making some runs, wasn't found, wasn't too involved defensively, and wasn't too involved going forward. So pretty poor day overall. Basically, Kane performed without the goal, essentially.
Next up, Davinson Sanchez. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 3. He came on and actually steadied the ship. Was the best defender on the day, but it's not saying much because the defense was so poor. But I would say he did come on and steady the ship a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a dead game by the time he came on, to be honest. So I can't mark him too well or too bad. It was literally Newcastle had won the game. They'd pretty much given up going forward. Spurs just wanted to stem the tide, so they weren't going forward. So for me, it was just whatever. I mean, it was 5 because nothing really happened after he came on.
And last but not least of the playing staff is Arnaut Danjuma. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 2. I mean, there was nothing in there really. Game was done. He got on the ball a couple of times, but there was nothing doing really.
Yeah, he had a shot on target, didn't he? After a good pullback from Richarlison. Again, it was a dead game. So, I'm not going to blame him for not impacting the game more. It was a dead game when he came on. He did have a shot. There you go. 5 out of 10.
Next up, Christian Stellini. 1s all round from us. And this was poor management from a manager way out of his depth at the moment. I kind of feel for him a little bit because things weren't working under Antonio Conte. So why keep Conte staff? Why keep Stellini, which is basically just going to be a watered down version of Conte's football? And if the players and the fans aren't happy with it, then they're definitely not going to be happy with Stellini's football. That being said, he tried things up going to a back 4, but I mean, I saw it before the game that something like this could definitely unfold, and it definitely did. I mean, how can you play a back 4 with Perisic at left back, who's terrible defensively and a natural wing back, Porro at right back, that he's natural wing back and not a right back, he's terrible defensively, Dyer, who's not comfortable in a back 4, which we've seen time and time again, and yeah, just those 3 players on its own in a back 4 was criminal to me, to be honest. And I think it definitely played into the fact why we conceded so many goals in the opening 20 minutes. But when you look at a game, when you go 5-0 down in 20 minutes, I came into the studio today and I said that was the worst thing I've ever had to sit through as a Spurs fan. And Stellini is culpable because he's the manager.
Well, that's what he said himself. It's the worst football he's ever seen in his life, in during his career. And I agree. I mean, when that back four was asking for trouble, what disappointed me the most, I think I was, to be honest, looking at that back four, I wasn't even unsurprised by how open we are, because I expected that. But what I did expect was that at least if we're going to play this formation, we were going to be more exposed at the back, 100%, and we definitely were. But at least I thought we'd be a bit more on the ball, possession, going forward, asking different questions of Newcastle on the ball. And we didn't even do that. We even asked less questions, I would say, of the opposition than we usually do. The midfield three completely didn't work whatsoever on the ball. They weren't getting close to each other. There was no passing. Couldn't get the front three involved whatsoever. Couldn't get the wing backs forward whatsoever. And then off the back of that, we were so badly exposed at the back that the plan was just a complete disaster. It just looked as though they hadn't been working at all on this formation. It was like they turned up on Sunday and Stellini told them we're playing 4-3-3 today, and it took everyone by surprise. Even though he said they'd been working on it, there was no evidence of that. How you can't play a high line and have no pressure on the ball. That makes no sense. And that's exactly what we did. So I have to say, Stellini, and when you're 5-0 down after 20 minutes, you get a 1 out of 10, mate.
Yeah. All right, well, that is our player ratings, probably the most brutal player ratings we've ever given on this channel, but I think it's very much warranted. If anything, we were probably kind on the players today. But thank you, everyone, for watching today. Put your ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.